First at noon, as nurses at Kauai's Wilcox Medical Center continue their strike, the state's 3 nurses unions are joining forces to call for safer staffing laws. The Hawaii Nurses Association, Hawaii Nurses and Healthcare Professionals, and United Nurses and Healthcare Employees of Hawaii represent more than 5,000 nurses across the state. They're urging lawmakers to support legislation that mandates patient-to-nurse ratios or have regulations governing safe staffing in healthcare facilities like other states do. The head of the Hawaii Nurses Association became emotional talking about the recent events with Kapi'olani, Queens, and now Wilcox.
Now I'm listening to 140 nurses at Wilcox who is alone in Kauai, fighting for the ratio. So please understand, this is important. We want it all equal across Hawaii. This is for the state of Hawaii. We shouldn't have to fight like this. At every battle, every negotiation, it should be the same everywhere.
We need safe staffing standards that are codified in state law that will apply to all hospitals throughout the state and that hold healthcare leaders accountable.
State Representative Sean Quinlan says he is introducing legislation this session to create enforceable staffing ratios and establish safety committees. The hospitals say patient safety is their top priority. Wilcox's president and CEO says each medical center is different with its own support teams, and they are willing to adjust staffing levels as needed. We're going to have more on this story coming up on later editions of HNN. Moku Airlines' fleet remains grounded for a second day, and there's no timeline for when flights may resume. The company's website yesterday said it's a temporary disruption due to aircraft inspections. Now, this comes just 5 months after Mokulele grounded several aircraft for maintenance issues. Passengers say they are tired of dealing with the cancellations.
It's common for us, and it's nothing new. It does add frustration to your day. But Molokai people are very adaptive, so when we jumped into the situation, we immediately started texting friends who have a boat, kind of getting more information on what kind of charters are available.
We've tried to look at every option. I've met with every airline that you can think of and the airline industry people. They don't have the type of plane that can land on Molokai. The other question is that what we want? So we got to find some kind of balance.
At last check, the company's call center said there were no open reservations until Monday. An update now on the fatal Macaulay fire that killed a Honolulu firefighter last week. HFD says it started accidentally from unattended cooking. The fire on Yonge Street was so intense it caused a partial roof collapse, taking the life of 25-year-old firefighter Jeffrey Fiala. 4 other firefighters and 1 resident were also injured. California firefighters are getting a reprieve from high winds before dangerous conditions are forecasted to return next week. Officials are urging displaced residents to be patient as they clear areas of hazards and possible victims who may have perished in the wildfires. Danya Backus has more from Los Angeles.
Fire officials report little to no fire growth in the past 24 hours, with the exception of the Palisades fire. Crews are taking advantage of weakening winds to gain ground on the flames and replenish their ranks.
Today, we are focused on efforts to reset department staffing to ensure our personnel get the much needed and overdue rest and recovery they require.
Why do I deserve this? I don't know.
A resident in Altadena returned to his block and found his house was the only one standing there after the Eaton fire.
Everybody's house is gone.
FEMA disaster recovery centers are helping affected residents who have until March 10th to apply for individual assistance.
Please apply ASAP so you are in their system and you have that 18-month window to work with them to receive all of the benefits that you not only need in this time, but you deserve.
California's governor issued an executive order Thursday to expedite new temporary housing. The state is also cracking down on price gouging.
Folks across the region are being preyed upon.
The order also extends a ban on price gouging for hotel, motel, and rental housing in Los Angeles County.
DOJ has opened multiple active investigations into price gouging reports, and we will prosecute any crimes we find.
Members of the military are helping with security. Officials also say they're still, quote, holding some areas where they believe search teams may recover deceased victims. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Let's take you live now to Hawaii Island, where after a 12-day pause, Kilauea is once again erupting, and it is just dazzling. Lava started flowing Wednesday morning in the summit caldera of Halema'uma'u crater. The USGS says this is the fourth phase of the current eruption, which began on December 23rd. Lava is now shooting up in both the south and north vents. The fountains are about 200 feet tall, and experts say they could get even taller as more gassy magma makes its way to the surface.
The caldera is being filled, but the caldera is very large, so it will be many, many eruptions and a lot of volume required to fill it. And actually, if you add up all of the eruptions that we've had since the 2018 collapse, we've only filled about a quarter of that collapse, the volume that the caldera collapsed in 2018. So again, we filled kind of that narrowest conical part of the crater that was collapsed in 2018, and now we're kind of reaching the bigger, what we call the downdrop block area. So it's the eruptions are covering greater area just because that narrow portion of the crater has been filled.
Past phases of this eruption have lasted from 1 to 12 days.
And of course, we've been tracking VOG over on Hawaii Island, even across the rest of the island chain. I want to show you your H&N exclusive VOG forecast. You can see right there, just close to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, the concentration's relatively low, even though we are seeing that eruption going on. It's staying around Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, but as we go throughout the rest of today, there's a little bit of a concern for higher concentrations of sulfur dioxide and the other fumes from the volcano, as we're expecting lighter winds and conal winds over near Hawaii Island and the rest of the island chain. We're watching that very closely. You can see our winds out of the south and southeast. They'll shift to be more northerly as a cold front arrives tonight and across the state tomorrow. I'll give you the details on that in my full forecast coming up.
New reaction on the city's proposal to build a landfill on what's now a pineapple field outside Wahiawa. Many people at a town hall last night were filled with anxiety about the safety of the aquifer below. Ben Gutierrez has more.
An overflow crowd jammed Wahiawa Elementary School, and the complaints and skepticism piled up against the city's plans for a landfill.
It should go down in the trash. Yes. With the rest of your trash. Yes.
Wahiawa area residents railed against the city's proposal to build the 150-acre dump on land owned by Dole Food Company.
Why are we destroying active ag land when we all claim that we support ag?
But the biggest concern by far is the proposed location, 800 feet above an aquifer, with residents fearing another red hill, where military jet fuel leaked into the water supply some 100 feet below.
City officials must come up with better proposals that are both creative and innovative, unless we want to repeat another Red Hill disaster. Once is enough.
The current landfill at Waimanalo Gulch has a liner that the city says has never been breached, but an overflow there in 2011 left medical waste, including syringes, on West Oahu beaches.
The reason why we were able to know what happened at the Waimanalo Gulch is because it went into the Pacific Ocean. Very different from aquifers where we cannot see what's happening underground. It could be years before we find out that there's contamination.
Board of Water Supply Chief Engineer Ernie Lau, who opposes the landfill site, says it's possible for a leak to go through 800 feet of soil without any cap rock layers to stop it down.
Containment systems, will they last 30 years, 60 years, 100 years, 200 years?
The proposed landfill will have 2 liners to prevent leaking, and City Environmental Services Director Roger Babcock says he believes the dump will not affect the water system.
My answer is that I'm confident that we can meet the regulations and rules that are set down for us to make sure that it is protective of public health, and that's the
the law of the entire country.
He also says the trash has to go somewhere and that the proposed site is the one that ticks the most boxes on where landfills can go on Oahu.
This isn't how it works. I never get to do an incantation and wave a wand and have it disappear.
Despite city officials' attempts to win public support, a city council committee has voted against the plan. And now many of the nearest residents are on record begging them to find another site.
We don't need another disaster on hands.
Yes.
You're playing with fire.
Yes.
You don't play with fire.
In Wahiawa, Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
Honolulu's police chief says he needs help from the public and the legislature to stop illegal fireworks on Oahu. Chief Joe Logan faced the police commission on Wednesday, 2 weeks after the fireworks explosion in Aliamanu. 4 people have died from the blast and more than 20 others were hurt. A man in Kalihi was also killed by illegal fireworks on New Year's Eve. Logan told the commission yesterday that stricter laws are necessary, but regardless, he does not have enough officers to cite everyone using illegal fireworks.
If we can curb the number of fireworks coming in, then the number of people using them is far less, and enforcement becomes a project that's tackleable, that I can solve.
The chief says HPD will work with state lawmakers to change the fireworks laws. Lahaina trespassers beware. Officials with the Maui Emergency Management Agency say they've received multiple reports of people disregarding signs and entering restricted areas. Vehicles have also been seen on private properties and private lots. Violators face up to a year in prison and a $2,000 fine. To report trespassers, just call the number on your screen. And a proposal to raise the price of school lunches goes before Hawaii's Board of Education today. Honolulu Civil Beat reports education leaders are looking to nearly double the price for elementary and middle school lunches. It currently costs parents $2.50 for a daily school meal. The proposal is reportedly looking to raise the price to $4.75 over the next 3 years. School leaders say they were able to provide free lunches through the COVID-19 pandemic, but federal funding for that program ended in the year 2022. Governor Green says he opposes the price hike. He says he'll work with the DOE to find more funding for the school lunch program. Well, the first Gaza hostages could be released as early as Sunday under the new ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Details on the agreement ahead on This Is Now. Plus this.
Several more of President-elect Trump's cabinet picks sit for their confirmation hearings. I'm Natalie Brandt on Capitol Hill with what nominees for the EPA and Department of the Interior said about climate change and energy.
Israeli media is reporting that the Gaza hostage ceasefire deal is set to go ahead and that a last-minute dispute with Hamas has been resolved. The Israeli cabinet is expected to vote on the deal Friday, with the first of the hostages set to be released on Sunday. Ramy Inocencio has the latest from Tel Aviv.
In Khan Yunis, a displaced Gazan expressed joy that the war may soon be over.
Why I am so happy about the ceasefire? Because all of this are going to end.
And in Israel, feelings of anxiety and the hope that the fragile deal will hold and that the hostages will start to come back.
We're very hopeful, but we have this concern that something will go wrong along the way and not all hostages will be released.
Do you allow yourself to hope? No.
I wish I did, and I bless the times that I do, but I don't often enough. It's such a hard situation.
The last time Hamas freed hostages was more than a year ago in exchange for Palestinians in Israeli prisons. The logistics of this deal will be extremely complex. Even Hamas getting hostages safely to a handover point will present significant security challenges. U.S. officials are hopeful that any more setbacks will get resolved quickly.
I'm very confident that this is moving forward, and we'll see the start of implementation of the agreement on Sunday.
Israel's bombing of Gaza has not stopped, even as talks continue. Overnight, an IDF airstrike hit a house in Gaza City. Another hit a mosque, captured by our CBS News team in Gaza. Yet, at the same time, hope lies with humanitarian aid trucks on the move, on the Egyptian side of Gaza's border. Food, water, and medical supplies waiting to get in. But first, waiting for that deal to be signed. Ramy Inocencio, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
The new official portraits for President-elect Donald Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance have been released. In 4 days on January 20th, Mr. Trump will be sworn in, and the Senate continues to cycle through confirmation hearings ahead of his inauguration. Today, climate change and tariffs were the hot topics senators wanted to talk about. Natalie Brand has more details from Capitol Hill.
Across 4 Senate hearing rooms, President-elect Trump's cabinet picks for Treasury Secretary, Department of the Interior, the EPA, and Housing and Urban Development testified under oath.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin, selected to lead the Environmental Protection Agency, was grilled by Democratic senators on climate change.
I believe that climate change is real.
But Zeldin defended President-elect Trump's past comments on the issue.
I think that he's concerned about the economic costs of some policies where there's a debate and a difference of opinion between parties.
I would respectfully disagree with you. I think he has called it a hoax time and time and time again.
Trump's pick for Interior Secretary, former North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, says there's a risk to the environment and security if America doesn't lead in energy production.
When energy production is restricted in America, it doesn't reduce demand. It just shifts productions to countries like Russia and Iran, whose autocratic leaders not only don't care at all about the environment, but they use their revenues from energy sales to fund wars against us and our allies.
Trump's Treasury Secretary nominee Scott Bessent testified he would support increasing sanctions on Russia over the war in Ukraine.
The hedge fund billionaire also faced tough questions about Trump's plan to cut taxes and implement tariffs.
All through the campaign, we heard they weren't, that foreign countries were going to pay it. I think that's baloney. It's going to be paid for by workers and small businesses.
The history of tariffs and tariff theory, optimal tariff theory, does not support what you're saying.
Former NFL football player who also served in Congress, Scott Turner, nominated to lead HUD, said the country needs millions more homes to address the housing crisis. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Stick around. Coming up after the break, I'll give you a look at our first alert 7-day forecast and give you the details on the approaching weak cold front.
First Alert Weather with Drew Davis.
Well, happy Thursday, everybody. Almost to Aloha Friday. We've been talking about this all week long. We've got high surf in the forecast and a cold front that's going to be approaching. The models have actually been backing off ever so slightly on the amount of rainfall that we're going to be seeing. I do want to break that down, but first, let's talk about what you're going to be seeing hour by hour, at least in town. Right now, we're experiencing those Kona winds around 13 miles per hour. Temperatures right now around 80 degrees, and if we expand this out throughout the rest of this evening, you'll actually see we'll be in the green, seeing fair weather over the next several hours, getting down to around 72 degrees by midnight tonight. Those Kona winds and west-southwesterly winds will continue as the front approaches in from the northwest. We'll actually start to see a shift from the north as the front approaches. Let's take a look at your First Alert Futurecast really quickly. Here's the timestamp so you can see that very clearly. We're going to see that front coming in late tonight. This is Thursday around 6 p.m. It starts to impact Kauai and Oahu early tomorrow morning and late tonight. Again, we've been talking about it all week long. Most of the moisture is off to the north and northeast of the state. That's where the bulk of the moisture and instability is, but it still could give us some showers out here as well. It's going to be relatively hit or miss across the entire state. By the time we get to Friday morning around 6 a.m., you're starting to see more impacts over Maui County and moving in towards Hawaii Island. And throughout Friday afternoon, the possibility for a pop-up thunderstorm is possible, but the chance is looking less and less likely. We're still tracking that possibility. However, as we go throughout Friday afternoon, we'll be drying out throughout Saturday. A couple of showers are possible early Saturday morning, but overall, it's going to be relatively dry and sunny out there. Our winds outside right now, you can see that out of the east/southeast over on the eastern half of the state and more variable down the island chain. You can really see that that's the case outside right now. I do want to walk you through our windcast, however, because as we're going forward over the next several hours, we're going to start seeing the winds shift out of the north. This is Friday around 7 a.m. and it gets a little bit breezier throughout Friday evening, at least out of the north, bringing in some cooler air across the state. Taking a look at our swell forecast, you can see that extra large swell we've been talking about all week long. It's likely going to trigger high surf warnings on north and west facing shores. Taking a look at tomorrow morning, we're on the rise, 20 to 25 feet on north facing shores, west facing shores 15 to 20, and an out of season south shore swell around 5 to 7 feet, east facing shores small as well. Of course, that forecast is for Friday morning. Here's your First Alert 7-day forecast. Friday and Saturday highlighted in red as that front is approaching. Again, that arrives tonight for the northwestern part of the state. That's it for First Alert weather. Let's send it back to Ashley.
Thank you, Drew. Still to come, you don't need a bowl or a spoon to enjoy chicken noodle soup. We'll show you the surprising twist on a classic favorite for flu season. time for some good news now. 2 rescued sea otters showed off their dunking skills at the Oregon Zoo as they played basketball. The video posted on social media with the caption, "Ottermatic All-Stars," showed the 2 otters named Juno and Uni Sushi passing a ball to a zookeeper and shooting hoops in their habitat in early December. Now, the keeper can be seen tossing a snack to one of the otters after it successfully makes a basket.
They've got some skills.
So cute.
And scientists say virtual reality goggles for mice are giving them some new insight into Alzheimer's disease and its potential treatments. Researchers at Cornell use special mouse video games to find out how they deal with obstacles. They noted moving around increased blood flow to the brain as well as memory function. Researchers are now working to create a VR headset to test larger rodents.
Can't wait to see what that looks like.
And when you're feeling sick, there's nothing more comfortable than some chicken noodle soup.
That's right. Now there's a new product so you can enjoy the flavor on the go. It's weird. Just in time for cold and flu season, Progresso Soups is releasing soup drops, calling them soup you can suck on. Each drop is set to deliver the classic hearty flavor of chicken noodle soup in a convenient hard candy drop, no spoon required. They're only available for a limited time. You can get 20 of them for $2.49 plus shipping.
I love these like stunt products. They're